And Benny looks at me and he's just looking at me. He's just staring me eye to eye. He looks at me and he goes, Tommy, you are the most nutritionally deficient, in shape person that I've ever met.
Mic drop.
And then just went back to eating his eggs. He didn't say anything. And I swear that comment in terms of my health, I reckon when I'm 80 or 90, is going to be one of the single best bits of feedback and strongest front stabs I've ever got.
What do you reckon is the biggest front stab you've ever had?
This is a good question. What is the biggest front stab I've ever had?
I'll make it more specific.
Yeah.
For as long as I've known you, you've been in great physical shape. So biggest front stab you've ever had in sock?
Sock-wise, I can easily tell you what that is. I'll tell you a fun story for all the listeners tuning in. I went through a phase where for a long time I stayed really lean. Had a great system, sat in single-digit body fat. At that particular point in time, had a solarium, so stayed tanned. And
that was my goal, to become as tanned as you.
Yeah.
Very difficult goal.
Which was hard considering I lived in Auckland where there's not as much sun at the time. But I went through this phase, right, where I decided I was going to gain muscle. So I'd normally sit around 80, 82, pretty lean, like very athletic looking physique. I went through this chapter where I decided I was going to put on muscle. So my weight starts creeping up. I go from 82 to 84 to 86 to 88. I think subconsciously about 88, I knew I was getting like a little bit chonky, but I thought, you know what, 92's in sight, baby. I'm going to give it a gun. I'm going for it. I got to 93.6 kilos. I can remember the number, which is obviously, you imagine walking around with like, 10, 12 kilo weight plate. It's all the time. You can feel.
I remember you turning sideways to fit through doors.
Yeah. Leaving a big shadow everywhere. Which was interesting, right? And this one particular night, it's interesting. We were going out to just have a chance to catch up, have a few vinos. You're in Australia, I was in Brizzy, and I'm there socking, ironing my shirt, getting ready, playing some good tunes. George FM in New Zealand, for anyone who's listening, play these. It's kind of like a Grand Theft Auto style radio station, and I'm ironing my shirt and facing the window, feeling good. Just a good vibe. And you go, bro, turn to the right. So I legit turn to the right, and then you go, turn back again. I go, okay. And you go, turn to the right, turn back again, turn to the right. And then you just stopped. You're silent for about 10 seconds. And you go to me, man, your head's really big. Your head looks like a bowling ball. Now, when I bulk up, my head gets really, really round. You're like, you could win a headbutting competition. And then the puns went on and on and on. And it was really interesting because I didn't really have a great night out that night. I went from feeling good to man, not tastic. But what's interesting, there's a lot of truth in it, right? And then 6 weeks later, I'm 82 kilos.
You were.
Second biggest front stab, and I'll share this because I didn't share it when we're speaking about sock, is I went through a phase in life where physical, like looking good, was the vanity metric. Internally, probably not as healthy. And I know you've had one of these as well. And Benny, who was our good mate, rest in peace, Benny, he's since passed away from cancer. He was going through his cancer journey at the time. We're eating breakfast at Hope Island.
You and Benny?
Yeah, Benny and I, we're eating breakfast there. We're on our way to this seminar called How to Write a Bestseller. It was a book writing seminar. And so at the time, I'd been training, I'm in mint shape. I'm probably 6-7% body fat, like really low. And I was very conscious of, calories and protein and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there. So Benny orders, you imagine he's on his cancer journey.
Tomatoes and spinach.
Tomatoes, spinach, avocado, mushrooms, like very nutrient dense, as we would always say, like foods that make your body say thank you and not fuck you. So he's eating all the thank you foods. Me, I order 2 bits of white toast, no butter, and 4 eggs and a long black. Now, Benny's also got a green veggie juice, right?
I'm guessing you would have known the exact calories.
Yeah, it was like 516, I think. I remember it at the time because I'd had a meal plan for doing it. And so the food comes out, we're chatting about the day. You know, it was like with Benny, he's always a really good laugh. That last year of his life, he got that little bit more serious because I think when you watch anyone who's on that oncology journey and they're going through their health, like they don't sugarcoat stuff. There's a really lighthearted person who, really started to unleash the front.
There was a shift in the last 12 months.
Massively. Because I think, you know, that old saying of like, you know, a normal person has 1,000 wishes, a sick person only has one. We've seen that, not just read the quote. And so I'm at brekkie with Benny, and Benny looks at me. I'm on my second egg, eating it, you know, thinking this is pretty good. Eggs, long black. And Benny looks at me. He's just looking at me. He's just staring me eye to eye. Waits about 15 seconds and he's just looking at me. He stops eating. So I stop eating. He looks at me and he goes, Tommy, he's just quiet. You are the most nutritionally deficient, in shape person that I've ever met.
Mic drop.
And then just went back to eating his eggs. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything till we got in the car to go to the seminar.
Which is so out of context for the Ben we knew most of our life.
Yeah, well, he'd often fuck around and share like really funny stuff and have it in stitches. Just this one line. And maybe he'd thought about it, maybe he hadn't, maybe it's just come out, maybe it was a frustration of like the way that he was eating. Tommy, you're the most nutrient deficient, in shape person I've ever met. And I swear that comment, like, I miss spending a lot, as do you, that comment in terms of my health, I reckon when I'm 80 or 90, is going to be one of the single best bits of feedback and strongest front stabs I've ever got. Because from that day, you know, I started getting my blood work done, started looking at health from the inside out. Like, what do I need to supplement with? How am I going? How am I feeling? How's my energy? What's excellence look like there? And it's just been one of the single best things that's influenced me. So it goes to show the power of a front stab, yeah.
From people you respect, love, and trust.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
You talk about the importance of brotherhood.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more important than that.
And that's a big part of brotherhood as well, man. It is like, when you look at it, right, I don't think anyone wants to be part of a brotherhood or have a brotherhood around them that's ego-based. Like, we've been to the parties where it's like, which Rolex are you wearing? What car do you drive? Like, all that sort of stuff. I think when people get to that level and they've achieved it, they genuinely don't give a fuck. They're looking to connect with real people and have meaningful conversations, right? Which is like a huge part of what we're about. So if you drop the ego and you know stuff isn't coming from a place of ego, and you know it's just coming from a place of care, like it's coming from realness, it's from someone's heart, and they're saying something, like the way I look at it, right, is if someone doesn't say something, that's genuinely when they don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
Like if you have something going on and I don't say anything and I just let you go about it, that means I don't give a shit. That just means like I don't care enough to tell you something. So part of brotherhood is when someone shares something with you, who you respect, who you got a bond with, you know it's not coming from a place of ego, you know it's not over-exaggerated, you know it's not passive-aggressive, it's just fucking real. They took the effort to do that. And I think for anyone listening to this, if you're on a journey where you got someone who cares enough about you, whose opinion that you respect, whose experience you respect, and they've taken the time out to give you that front stab and that feedback because they want to see you do better, I think it's important to actually acknowledge how rare that is, because the easiest is just to see something and go, I don't give a shit.
Well, the first step to that is finding the person that you respect, that's experienced it, that you can relate to, that you like.
Yeah.
100%.
And that in itself is HR. It's board and it's brotherhood. And just last part on that is, you know, for anyone listening to this, if you look at your board and you look at your brotherhood, you know, sometimes there's people you got to get rid of. Sometimes people are just in a seat just because they've been there all the time. We've been really conscious on building that intentionally with people we want to do life with. You know, you get one shot at this, and our saying is one life, no regrets. So build a fucking epic board table of cool dudes who you have a blast with, because going back to CFO and the happiness bank account, you'll have a great time. It will add so much value to your life as well.
I remember one of the boys asked me a question a couple of months ago. I think they were trying to stitch me up. It was at our Connect party, and they asked, if Tommy got super fat, stopped looking after his sock, became really negative, would he still be your mate? And I said, well, for a couple of weeks to a month, I'd really try to help him. I'd really try to work through each of the systems with him and look at the framework and have brotherly chats with him. But any more than a month, I'd have to have a really good look at it, because ultimately, do I want that person in my life? And even though we've been best mates for how long, do you want to be best mates with me if I turn into a negative fuck every day?
That's why I stay so lean for everyone listening.
That's 100% right.